The atmosphere has just shifted. Oh, go. Watch this now. Watch this. It means that God is coming from immortality to deal with mortality. It means that God has to leave from out of eternity to deal with time. You're hearing me here? So he says, and I have got to bust a move. He said to, watch this, in verse 8, he says to deliver. You look at that word deliver in the Hebrew, it is nastu. It means to snatch out, to recover, to rescue, to strip, or to break out. And so watch what he says. He says, and so now I am come from immortality to mortality, from eternity to time, to recover, to rescue, to snatch out, to strip, and to break them out of the hand of the Egyptians. I want you to notice something. I want you to notice that in the first verse, in verse 7, he uses Egypt, which is the place. But here in verse 8, he uses Egyptians. Now he's dealing with the culture of the place. Watch this. He's dealing with the cultural aspect of Egypt. Because the reason why he deals with it is because some of the children of Israel have been in bondage so long that they have adapted to the atmosphere. If I might put a peg right there, sometimes you can be in your situation so long that you start adapting to the situation that you're in. Y'all hearing me here? So he says, so I got to bust a move. I have to come down from immortality to mortality, from eternity to time, to snatch out, to recover, to rescue, to strip, and to break them out of the hands of the Egyptians. In other words, what he says is, I got to break them out of some habits that they have gotten adapted to. I want you to turn your Bibles to 2 Timothy. Tell you what, you don't have to turn it out, just read it for you. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 18. It says, and the Lord shall deliver me from every work and will preserve me unto his heavenly kingdom. I want you to notice that it says, and the Lord shall deliver, which simply means snatch out, rescue, recover, break out. Watch this. He said, I will rescue you, recover you, or break you out from every evil work, and will preserve you, or preserve me unto his heavenly kingdom. Now, here is in between, will preserve me unto his heavenly kingdom. You can put there, and will preserve me for his purpose. Did y'all catch that? I hope I haven't left you. In other words, you can put there, the Lord will break me out because of my purpose. Are y'all hearing me here? And so what I want you to do is I want you to understand that's why God says before you experience the something that's getting ready to break, I'm going to have to break you out of some things. Touch your neighbor and say, the season for where you are is over. And so watch this. So I proceeded to close the door of the refrigerator. I hope y'all still got your mind in the kitchen where the egg is. So I proceeded to close the door of the refrigerator, and the Lord said, write that down. He said, the people, not only, he said, tell the people, not only am I going to break them out of some things, he says, but I'm going back and shut every door that the enemy is going to try to keep open during your process. Because whenever God brings deliverance, the enemy always has an open house sale event. Let me say that again. Whenever God brings deliverance, the enemy always has an open house sale event, where the doors are left completely open so that you can be distracted by the magnet that has the capability of pulling you back into your past. want you to go to Philippians chapter 3 and verse 17. And I tell you what, when you have to say amen. Philippians chapter 3 verse 13 says, brethren, I do not count myself to have apprehended, but one thing I do. He says, forgetting those things which are behind and reaching forward to those things which are ahead. I want you to stop right there because I want you to notice that he says forgetting. Forgetting here is the process of dismissing from or closing the door of your mind. And so what Paul says is, I am dismissing from and closing from the door of my mind those things which are behind me, and I'm reaching forward to those things which are ahead. Watch this. In Genesis chapter 7 verse 15, if you all would read it with me, it says, and they went in unto Noah into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female of all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord did what? Shut him in. Now watch this. If you read that from the Amplified Version, it says, and they went into the ark with Noah, 2 and 2 of all flesh, in which there were the breath and spirit of life. And they that entered, male and female of all flesh, went in as God had commanded Noah. Watch this. And the Lord shut him in and closed the door. And so I asked the question to God. I said, God, why is it that you have to shut the doors? It is because, God says, most times people get delivered with open doors and are oftentimes distracted by the doors that have been left open. Oh, God. I'll bring you a little bit closer. Genesis chapter 19 and verse 24. When you have it, say amen. That's Baptist. I just was trying to get comfortable. It says that then the Lord rained upon Sodom and upon Gomorrah brimstone and fire from the Lord out of heaven. And he overthrew those cities and all the plain and all the inhabitants of the city and that which grew upon the ground. It says, but his wife looked back from behind him, and she became a pillar of salt. When you look at the word look, it means that she was distracted. And as a result, she became stagnated. Because, watch this, open doors causes distractions. I'm just going to preach just a little bit. Because Eve opened the doors of communication and got distracted by a serpent. Joseph opened the doors of his dreams and got distracted by haters. David opened the doors of his balcony and got distracted by Bathsheba. Samson opened the doors of his heart and got distracted by Delilah. Y'all ain't gonna shout on this. And you had been delivered out an abusive relationship for years. But you opened up the doors of Facebook and now you're distracted. Let me peg it just for a minute. You've been out of that relationship for years. You're just scrolling through. The first thing you do is open up the doors of his pictures. Let me see what he's doing. See how big the kids think. So then you look at the pictures, and then all of a sudden you go back and you see that they didn't put something new on it. So you look at the pictures.